Good morning, wives. Good morning. Let me go back to the top. Good morning. All righty. Listen. Good morning. We are here. Happy Self-Care Saturday, wives. Happy Self-Care Saturday. We are trying this live thing again. In the name of Jesus, it will be well. All right. Last week we was having some technical difficulties. I don't know what was going on, but we were rebuking that spirit today in Jesus' name. Okay. This will go forth. It will go forth. It will do what it's supposed to do in the name of Jesus. All right. Good morning, wives, and happy Self-Care Saturday. Coach T here with you this morning. And listen, we need to talk. We need to talk. I want to first start off by just give you some encouragement. Encouragement. And I want to remind you why that there is a war going on. All right. There is a war going on between good and evil. Wives have to understand. This type of assignment attracts darkness. And they also have to understand that they have an enemy, all right? They have an enemy, and that enemy is Satan, okay? And his goal is to stop this wife from completing this assignment. His goal is to stop this wife from achieving what it is that God has called her to do, all right? The enemy does not want you, wife, to get to the next place on your journey. He does not want you to get to that next place. And he is going to send all his big dogs, okay? He's going to send all his big dogs to come for you, all right? That's just how this goes. And it is going to challenge every fiber of your bones. It's going to challenge every fiber of your bones. But you have to make a decision in the beginning to go through the process. Come hell or high waters, you have to make a decision, wife, to go through the process, all right? And so you're probably saying, Coach T, that's not encouragement. That's not encouragement. But it is. At the end of the day, it's about getting through so you can see what it is that's on the other side for you. Getting through so that you can see what God has in store for you, all right? Refuse to settle, wife, all right? Refuse to settle. Good morning. And so, one of the things I always try to enforce or try to, bring to a wife's attention is, this is not for everyone. I always try to make sure that wives understand that, especially when they see, oh, you're a wife coach. Oh, you help, different ones in their marriage. I always try to, just make sure that I enforce that this type of assignment is not for everyone. Okay. Everyone would not necessarily understand this calling. Everyone would not necessarily understand this process. Everyone may not necessarily understand why why a good God will allow a person to go through that type of pain, injury. Why would God allow that? Why would he allow a person to go through those things? But once you get past that part, then it will begin to make sense. So don't stand still. We've been talking about, our pursuit to the other side and how, making sure that we are crossing over. And I just want to, just remind wives again that this is not for everyone. All right. This is not for everyone. And so you need to know that that God has called you to this. All right. Psalms 125:1 says, those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion. Mount Zion is a place where Yahweh resides, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surround his people from this time forth and forever. So that is encouragement to you, wife, letting you know and reminding you once again that God is with you, regardless on how it look, how it feels, what it seemed like. God is with you. God is with you. Okay. Two things I always want to share with wives about this journey. Two things I always want to share with wives about this journey is the importance of hearing from God. Like I said, it varies from coach to coach. Every coach is different. A lot of coaches use their, how God helped them on their journey. Okay. How God helped them get through their journey. So everybody have a different story. One of the things I enforce on my platform, and one of the things I bring to wife's attention is these two things, because these are the two things that God helped me with to get through my process. So the importance of hearing from God, that is so very important for you, wife, on this journey. Good morning. That is so very important for you on this journey. And the importance of self-care, all right? That is the two things that God helped me with on my journey when I was going through when I was in this place on my journey. Those were the two things that God used to help me get through my journey. And I feel like if you don't take the time to self-care, which means prioritize yourself, it's going to be really, really hard for you to hear from God. If you do not take the time out to self-care for yourself and prioritize yourself, it's going to be really, really hard to hear from God. So I know a lot of times why I struggle with, well, I'm not hearing from God, or I'm not really sure, what God is saying to me, or I'm not really, getting the same type of message, or I'm not really, getting clarity on what I feel like God is saying to me. And one of the things I always, encourage my wives to do, you need to go deeper. You got to go deeper. You got to get into that secret place. You got to get into that place where you can hear from him, because on this journey with this type of assignment, you need to hear from God. You need to know what thus said the Lord concerning your situation. You need to know how to go forward on this journey. All right. And so those are the two things I always try to make sure that my wives that I coach understand. Coach T is going to make sure that she pounds that in you. All right. You got to hear from God. You got to prioritize yourself. All right. And if you are not prioritizing yourself, which means attending to your self-care, attending to your well-being, you're not going to be in a place to hear from God. All right. You're not going to be in a place to hear from God. And so recently I created, let me say this first. I'm always improving my curriculum. Every time that I have a wife who complete her bonus boost, I usually have her to kind of like give me her feedback, share some things with me, so I can know, I kind of jot down some things that, maybe we discussed or we went over, that stood out a lot during that time. And I try to take those things and add to my curriculum for the next go around, for the next set of ladies or, wives who I work with. And so recently, I have created a list for my wives who have completed her bonus boost, or who will be taking her bonus boost curriculum in the future. I have put together a simple strategy page that's necessary for her on this journey. I just, jot down some things that these are some of the things that you will have to know how to do or maintain or become, or begin to perfect in order for this journey to work for you. All right. Unfortunately, this is only available to my wives who have made this type of investment and who have made this type of investment this year, and also who have kept her monthly check-ins. All right. And so I will be sending this out to, that wife sometime this month, so that she can have that. So that is one of the benefits of taking her bonus boost, and it is one of the benefits of doing your monthly check-in. So when different things come up, I sometimes send recommendations out. If that wife have been, consistent on taking, on doing her check-ins, or if that wife have been consistent, with following through, and she took the curriculum within that year, I do sometimes add additional things to give her on, on her journey as well. So if you have not signed up for her Bonus to Do's, that would be a good moment right there for you to sign up. Okay. Listen, October is the month that things will fall back in place. And so I will be saying that all month long until they actually start falling back in place. And whilst I want to encourage you, it is here. The time is here. The time is now. Today, I want to share a message with you that's probably not the most popular one when it comes to marriage or standing for your marriage. But I do feel like it is necessary because it can be a hindrance for you on your journey. All right. So today we're going to talk about the family. A lot of times people are like, you can talk about a whole lot of things, but don't talk about my family. Don't mess with my money. Family is like a real, sensitive place. But we got to address it. All right. Good morning. We have to address the bloodline. And so I'm going to take a moment to speak to you today about the family. All right. So let me say just a quick prayer. I'm going to go ahead and, kind of do my little introduction, and we're going to go ahead and start. All right. So, Father God, we bless you on today, God. I thank you, Jesus, for your amazing grace and mercy, Lord. We welcome you now into this session. Lord, I pray that there be no backlash, God. I pray for your covering over this message, God. I pray that this video does not be interrupted. I pray, God, that it goes through in your son, Jesus' name. Lord, I pray that this message reach the wife that it needs to reach. May it bring forth confirmation and revelation, God. Lord, I pray that she will receive whatever it is that she needs to receive that you have already been dealing with her about, God. I pray that she will make a decision to make an actionable change on today, God, on her journey. Lord, as I bless you, I praise you, and I pray and ask these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So we have to talk about the bloodline. We have to talk about the family because a lot of times, most of the times, some of the unhealthiness that has taken place or have taken place in your marriage covenant, it stems from that. All right. It stems from the bloodline. If I had to break down, it stems from that. Let me do my little introduction. I didn't do that part. I'm sorry, y'all. for my new followers, for the one who may come on later and be like, who this is? What's your name? Who you is? Good morning. My name is Coach T. And I am a certified business mental health wife coach and marriage consultant. I coach wives who have experienced mental and emotional distress in her marriage due to her husband's toxic behaviors or due to the wife's toxic behaviors. All right. Due to her husband's toxic behaviors related to adultery, abandonment, or addictions. Okay. This is normally for the wife who is standing for her marriage. I also coach wives who are struggling with prioritizing her well-being, and she needs to make some decisions to change some of her toxic behaviors and some of the unhealthy choices that she has also made in her marriage. And so I help coach her to overcome some of these toxic repeated cycles and confront these behaviors that may have been affected or contributed from her past. My area of expertise is in the area of behavioral health, marriages, and faith. All right. And so let me go back to, if I had to break down extreme areas of toxicness, it can be summed up with adultery, drugs and addiction, neglect and abandonment, of course, physical abuse, which is an area that I do not coach in, but then also family drama, childhood traumas, wounds, traditions, that type of thing. Okay, all these areas can affect your mental, emotional, and physical health. All right. All these areas that I just mentioned can affect your mental, emotional, and physical health. And in order to bring in order for you to get to a better place in your mental, emotional, and physical health, and to get that in alignment, we had to go after our spiritual health so we can heal and do better. Good morning. All right. We have to go after our spiritual health so we can heal and do better. Good morning. All right. If we were to go deeper, we can determine the evil spirit that is behind these types of toxicness. Okay, we can go deeper. So if we was to use, for example, adultery, what is the spirit behind adultery? What is behind adultery? And normally what's behind adultery is lust. Okay, it's some type of lust spirit. Maybe that person may have been dealing with some type of abandonment or something traumatic that took place in their life. Maybe they was molested as a child. Maybe some things like that. Maybe their mother left them as a child. Different things like that. But the evil spirit behind adultery is lust. All right. The spirit behind drugs and addiction, that will fall up under sorcery and witchcraft. Okay. It is a sorcery is like going to like some kind of psychic, or going to some type of medium, or going to some type of witch doctor, to get something or to use something that will help you with whatever that you're dealing with. When you think about the drugs and alcohol also is a substitute to deal with things that people don't want to deal with. Okay. It is a sorcery. It is a sorcery spirit. It is something that people use to get high rather than the Holy Spirit, rather than going to God. It is something else that they are using to, deal with whatever they're going through. All right. The spirit behind physical abuse, fear, anger, rage. The spirit behind your family dysfunction can be generational curses, familiar spirits, family altars, all types of things, all types of dramas that goes along with that. All right. And so one of the things I want to get across today to Wise is that a lot of times toxicness does not start in your marriage. A lot of times toxicness starts in your family line. A lot of times the things that you bring over to your marriage can start with what happened before marriage, what type of lifestyle you had before you got married, what type of life you was living, what what's your family tree like. That is where a lot of this toxicness start from. All right. I want to start by saying that talking about the family and the toxicness in the family is necessary. Okay. It is necessary. A lot of times wives don't realize that these things can cause a hindrance on their journey. All right. These things can cause a hindrance on their journey. So let's start off by defining toxic. Let's start by defining toxic. The first thing Google says about toxic is that it's poisonous. And we know anything poisonous can kill you. All right. It's deadly. If I go further to define toxic relationships, a toxic relationship is one that makes you feel unsupported, misunderstood, deemed, or attacked. On a basic level, any relationship that makes you feel worse rather than better can become toxic over time. Relationships can exist in just about any content. All right. The Bible is loaded. There are stories all across the Bible that is loaded with different levels of toxicness. We start at the beginning with, in Genesis with Adam and Eve, children, Cain and Abel, that was a toxic situation. How Cain killed his brother. You start, good morning, in the beginning with Abraham and his cousin Lot. That was a toxic situation. Abraham trying to help him and Lot, being greedy and not knowing who he was. That was a toxic situation. You think about the story of Joseph and his brothers and how his brothers was jealous of him and how they threw him in a pit. That was a toxic situation. So the Bible is filled with all types of toxicness in the family. And a lot of times these things take place in the family line before it even hits or comes to the marriage. All right. I want to share this Bible verse with you. It's very simple, but I want to share it with you. It comes from out of 1 Corinthians 15:33, and it says, "Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character." All right? Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character. All right? That is the NLT version. The New King James Version says, "Do not be deceived. Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits." Evil company corrupts good habits. And listen, like I said, ain't nobody want to sit here and deny unless you come from a really, really bad family. If you didn't have a good experience with your family, then that's one thing. But if your family was halfway decent, if y'all was close, if y'all was cool, if everything was good, you don't really want to look at your family as being toxic. You don't want to really look at your family as, having, toxic things, going on. But it is there. All right. It is there. All right. And we are coming to a place where we have to call a spade a spade. All right. We got to call it what it is. All right. We have to call it what it is. Now, let me just pause. I want to just go back for a moment and acknowledge that we are heading into the holiday season. All right. We are heading into the holiday season. And normally, when you think about the holiday season, that's normally family time. And so every year I try to share with my wives and give them, a heads up, because when you are in a situation where your marriage is not well, or you and your husband is separated, or you and your husband is going through a fragile season in your marriage, during the holiday season, this can be very, very hard. This can be a very, very hard place to be in. And so I always try to share some type of encouragement and help wives, during this time, to just really, really stay alert and be aware of what's going on. And I always try to tell wives to prepare, prepare for this season. Prepare if you want to share with others about your marriage situation. Prepare if you want to share with others about what's going on in your marriage. Prepare if you are ready to share or say, when me and my husband, we got this going on, or we taking a break. I always tell wives to prepare your speech, prepare what you're going to say, prepare how you're going to acknowledge your husband and how you're going to recognize him. Prepare yourself for that. All right. And whether your husband, wife, is in the home or not, whether he's good to you or not, whether he is deserving of praise or not, one of the things I always try to encourage wives to do is honor him in his absence. Honor him when it comes down to your family. Regardless, a lot of times wives get so comfortable with allowing family members to speak about their husbands. And that is a big no-no. That is a big no-no. You are not to put your mouth on another person's marriage. That's one way for God to come for you, I had a friend girl who was, her sister was, had been in a relationship, a long-term relationship, I guess like through college or whatever. And then, all of a sudden, I guess in college, messed around and met someone else. And so the person that she had been dating for a long term, that relationship kind of like, went his ways. And the family felt real salty about that. They was like, man, you had been with this person for all these years, and all of a sudden this new person comes in, and now everything has changed. Now everything has changed. And so they kind of felt like that new person kind of like, sold her from the other person. And so the family always had something negative to say. They always had something negative to say about that person. But then they end up getting married. The sister ended up marrying that guy. She ended up marrying that guy. And so it was at that time where it's like, no, you can no longer put your mouth on that. And so one of the things that my friend girl was having was, she was, she didn't like it. She was not in agreement with it. And I had to remind her, ma'am, once they said I do, once covenant was made, once they walked down that aisle and became husband and wife, you no longer can put your mouth on that marriage, okay? You no longer have room to put your mouth on that relationship. You have to back out, okay? Whatever happened before marriage is one thing, but now that they are married, no ma'am, that's a done deal, all right? And so this holiday season, I want to encourage wives to be cautious about what you share, what you say, and especially when it comes down to your husband, okay? Make sure that you are honoring your husband. Make sure that you are honoring your husband, okay? He can be the most worst, messed up, all over the place person right now, but honor him. Honor him, okay? And why should I honor a person who is, being disrespectful to me? Why should I honor a person who is, saying, negative things to me? Because the Bible tells us to. The Bible tells us to. And honor is a sign of respect. All right. And the Bible tells wives to respect their husbands. Okay. Whether he deserves it or not, you do the right thing. Because when you do the right thing, God honors you. Why? Okay. God honors you. Good morning. And so be cautious, wife. This is how you grow and discipline yourself on this journey. Like I say, if things are not in a really good place between you and your spouse, well, this is a great way to start disciplining yourself to speak, highly of him, even though he doesn't necessarily deserve it. That's that speak those things that be not as though they were type thing. Okay. So honor him. You honor him and God will honor you. All right. Most of us, like I said, love our families and appreciate their support and their deposits in our lives. Good morning. Like I said, if you come from a halfway decent family, you have that type of support. I know just, me being transparent, my family is very, was very supportive of my stand, was very, very supportive of, what I was going through. I had some other relatives that was not necessarily in agreement with it, but as far as my immediate family, they was very supportive of me on my stand. All right. But some family members and some people will not understand your story. All right. They will not understand your story. They will not understand, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you even doing this? Okay. Whether good or bad, wives, you need to know that family can keep you from crossing over and getting to the other side. You need to know that what you share with your family, what kind of information you sit down and share with your family concerning your marriage, concerning your husband, the things that you share with different ones concerning your husband, your marriage, you have to understand that is a hindrance. That is a hindrance. And that is a place where you can be stuck. Okay. And so we definitely have to talk about that. All right. And so, I wanted to bring that part up. I'm jumping around. All right. And so, many other wives that I coach are not necessarily dealing with a marital injury, but they are dealing with a family injury. All right. They're not necessarily dealing with a marriage injury. They're dealing with a family injury that bled over into their marriage. And now the result of it is toxic. Okay. Because everybody think their family is right. No, we did it like this. No, you supposed to do it like this. No, we supposed to do it this way. No, this is how I grew up. No, this is how I was taught. No, this is what I see. Everybody thinks their family is right. Right. And so one of the things I love about being a premarital facilitator to couples is helping them to, establish, your own, come up with your own. How do you want your marriage to look? How do you want your marriage to be? What you want this to look like? Okay. Eliminating and getting away from the family way of doing things and creating your own way and start a new way. Okay. Both husband and wife come into the marital relationship with their own load of baggage. Okay. They come into the marital relationship with their things that took place prior to them being, dating, married or whatever. But these things took place in the family first. And too many wives have used their marriage as an escape from this type of behavior. Too many wives have used their marriage as an escape from this type of behavior, not recognizing that until they deal with that family trauma, until they deal with that family injury, it is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. All right. If you do not properly deal with what trickled down from your family bloodline, it is going to roll over and, to your children, to your children's children, to your children's children. And that's why they talk about the generational curses and those things being broken. Certain things have to be addressed. A lot of times people think, well, that was just how it was back in those days. Or that's just, that's just how we dealt with those things back in those days. And, that's just what it was. And they never make a decision to get the necessary help. And they think, okay, well, this is going to just go away. I'm going to get married. I'm going to start brand new. My spouse is going to complete me. Life is going to be gravy. And then you run into your fragile season. Because everyone will run into a fragile season in marriage. Everyone will cross over. To the extent that part varies, but everyone will run into a fragile season. And so you're thinking, okay, well, now I'm married. So all the things that took place in my childhood, all the things that I dealt with, when I was living with my parents and, my upbringing, I don't have to deal with those things anymore. Everything is new now. And they don't realize that the things that they did not deal with amplifies in the marriage covenant. Marriage put the spotlight on what your problem really is. So if you grew up in a household where your mother was very controlling and manipulative, that trickled down on you. You got some of that. And so now you're being bossy and controlling to your husband. Your husband's like, wait, what's going on? And you thinking, oh, well, this is normal because this is what I see, Or you had some type of traumatic situation happen. You probably was touched as a child, some things happen that, you never want to talk about. You never want to relive that situation. And those types of things have to be addressed. Those types of traumas have to be addressed. It's not going anywhere. It sits there. And then you think, oh, I'm going to just forget about this. I'm going to just forget that I was, abandoned as a child. I'm going to just forget that, I was adopted. I'm going to just forget that, my mom and dad used to fight all the time. I'm going to just forget that, we grew up poor. We traveled and moved around from house to house. I'm going to forget, you thinking that you're going to just forget those things. You're going to go into this marriage and marriage is going to make everything okay. No, marriage will put the spotlight on the things that you did not deal with. Marriage will put the spotlight on those things. And so wives have to understand you have to deal with some of your stuff first. Okay? You have to deal with some of your stuff first. And one of the things that I have noticed that has come up in families that I want to address today, is the spirit of projecting. Like I said earlier, some families have been supportive. Some families have been, available. Some families have been there. I know, like I said, I'm using myself for an example. I know for me, when I was going through my tough season, I had a support team, right? I had a support team when it came to my family. I'm the oldest of 7. So I come from a large family and we are very close knit. We are very, we grew up close like that. But everybody got drama and trauma and different things that took place, in their family line. And so today I want to talk about the spirit of projecting. The spirit of projecting, because a lot of times when I'm talking to wives who are struggling in the area of self-care, who are struggling in the area with, stress, who are struggling in the area, with anxiety, they're struggling in these areas. A lot of times what I'm coming across is some of these wives are carrying stuff from either another person or carrying stuff from their past, carrying something that they have not dealt with. Okay. And so the spirit of projection refers to unconsciously taking unwanted emotions or traits you don't like about yourself and attributing them to someone else. This is a problem, wife. Okay, this is a problem. And it is unhealthy. I've seen this play out in several settings, marriages with children, mom, daughter, father, sons. It can take place with anything, with anyone, all right? And it's not okay. Husband and wife, these types of things take place. Projection is a self-defense mechanism. People who project are not fully aware of themselves, and most times they struggle with low self-esteem. They struggle with something that they need to address and deal with. Low confidence. They don't. They feeling a certain type of way about themselves. People who project don't like something about themselves. It is something about themselves that they don't like, but they are not willing to address or deal with it. They don't like it, but they're not willing to address or deal with it. So in order to protect themselves, they refuse to acknowledge parts about themselves they don't like, and they end up dumping it on you instead. They end up being irresponsible and dumping it on someone else, because I don't want to deal with, I was molested as a child. I don't want to deal with that. I see my mom, get punched in the eye as a child. I don't want to deal with that. We had to go stay with our grandparents, and my mom and dad couldn't take care of us. I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. So instead of me dealing with that kind of stuff, I'm going to project my different emotions. Because this person have no type of control over their emotions. I'm not going to deal with those things. I'm not going to deal with the grief of me losing a loved one that, that it still bothers me to this day. I'm not going to deal with those things. And so instead, they dump it on someone else. And when you allow someone to constantly project things on you, that negative energy, that negative spirit can transfer to you. Now you begin carrying the weight or the load of something that wasn't yours to carry in the beginning. Now your emotions are all twisted, confused, and thrown all off because of it. This is an area that requires attention, wives. All right? This area requires attention. And though this ugly habit may have started in your bloodline, you have the opportunity now to do something different about it. All right? You have an opportunity now to do something different about it. When we talk about toxicness, it's something that's being poisoned. It's something poisonous, deadly, something that you have to deal with. You have to deal with that. A lot of times, being either the strongest person in the family or being the person that, family members may admire or look up to. A lot of times, that can be, it can be a blessing and a curse. It can be a blessing and a curse, because a lot of times, the family, everybody's calling you. Everybody, oh, what do you do? Oh, excuse me. How you handle this? What you do with this, and you carrying everybody's stuff. That can be dangerous. That can be poisonous. That can be poisonous to you. I know a transparent moment here for myself. For many years, I did not understand truly what codependency was. I didn't really understand what codependency was. All right. I know when my husband wasn't home, me and my kids, we used to go to a support group at church. They had, one for the kids and one for, the adults. And I attended this support group called Celebrate Recovery for families who, dealing with toxic family members or whatever. And so after attending this group meeting for a couple of weeks, I realized one day that I was codependent on some of my family members, and they were codependent on me. We would sit on the phone and talk, and we would transfer our pain and our anger and our frustration. And we just go around in circles, just kind of like, transferring all that stuff on each other. And it was like something that we look forward to doing. Like, okay, when we gonna meet and do this all over again. And I remember one day that the Lord called me out on it, like, no, this is not good. Like, this is not good. You cannot do this. You cannot do this. Okay. We sometimes get caught up in tradition. We get caught up in tradition, well, this is what our family always do. This is just what our family do. We sit around, we gossip, we talk, we throw blows. We do this type of thing or whatever. And a lot of times people don't realize that this stuff is not healthy. It is not healthy. All right. And so the Lord began to shift my mindset during this time, and help me to be aware of some of these things that was taking place, that I didn't even know was a negative. I didn't even know was a bad thing, all that different energy being transferred, all of those different things, like, you can be thrown off, you can really be thrown off, and it can interfere with your physical health. It can, your mental, emotional, and your physical health. All right. So how can we change this? How can we change this? What can we do about these situations when it comes down to, allowing someone to project their stuff on you, allowing someone to dump their stuff on you? One of the reasons, even as a wife coach, a lot of times people struggle with, I always say, with the consultations, like, if you can't pay the consultation, you're probably not going to be able to do the curriculum. But it's a price is set in place because of, not just because of my expertise, not just because of how well I do my job as a wife coach, but it's like, I have to also consider the things of, okay, this type of load is being, I'm taking the information from a wife, and this is being, on me. I'm going to have to now process through these things in a healthy way, so this stuff does not stick. So this stuff that doesn't stay on me. And so one of the reasons why I charge premium prices for my consultations and for my curriculum is because I am not a person who likes to waste time, because I recognize and realize the load that comes along with helping someone. And so it's like, either you ready to do this, because if you're serious about doing the work, then I want to be able to help you do the work. But if you just want to just, kind of like just go through the motions, well, I'm probably not that coach for you. So I charge premium for my consultations and my curriculum because I don't want my time wasted. I want people who are ready to actually do the work and heal. Okay. And so some of the ways that we can change this moving forward, especially, like I said, going into the holiday season, you getting ready to, interact with family. Some of the ways we can do this. Okay. Moving forward, I want to talk about that. Now, listen, I want you to also understand, it doesn't make you greater than, better than, higher than, than the next person. But if God has called you to a specific place in your life on your journey, maybe he is using you, wife, to be that change in your family. Maybe he is using you, wife, to break that curse. Okay. And so you want to be mindful of these things. So how do we eliminate projection from taking place with us? Number one, first, you want to set boundaries. Boundaries. And nobody likes boundaries. And a lot of times people don't like setting boundaries, but it is necessary. You want to set boundaries for yourself ahead of time. You have to be intentional about your energy, about your peace. You have to be intentional about your space and who you let in your space and who you allow to take up that type of time with you. Okay. You have to be intentional about that. So setting boundaries is one of the first things that you can do, to eliminate someone from projecting on you. All right. Set boundaries ahead of time. Already know if this come up, how I'm going to handle this, what I'm going to do, whatever. Okay. Number two, avoid taking on other people's emotions. Okay. Avoid taking on other people's emotions, because this can be a form of codependency and or your need to be needed. For a long time, I thought me being needed was a good thing. I didn't think it was a negative. I didn't know that, me being needed was was a codependency issue that I was dealing with. I see this all the time in my family. I didn't think anything was wrong with, codependency. I just wanted to be available and, helpful to everyone. But those types of things can interrupt your well-being. Those types of things can interrupt your mental, your emotional, and your physical health. And so you have to be mindful of that. So avoid taking on other people's emotions. I know a lot of times they talk about, people who are I can't remember the exact word, but they are, I know prophetic people are very sensitive to certain things, and so it's easy for us to pick up on things, and that's another thing that you have to be aware of. If you know that you are prophetic, or you have some type of gifted in that area, you're gonna already pick up stuff anyway, some stuff that you don't even want to pick up. I'll be somewhere sometimes, I'm like, oh my God, why? I don't want to feel that, or even just with my own family. I when something's going on, I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, And so if you are a sensitive person anyways, and you pick up other people, stuff, you have to be mindful of taking care of yourself and making sure that you don't allow someone to dump their stuff on you. All right. Number 3, acknowledge their feelings. All right. Acknowledge their feelings if you can. All right. If you are in position and you can, because you're not responsible for another person's emotions. You are not responsible for another person's emotions. So if you can acknowledge them, what happened or what's going on? If you can, if you are in a place, or if you are in a position, then okay, you do that. But don't feel bad or guilty about this if you can't. Like, don't feel bad about that. If you can't acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge it. But if you can't, you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm probably not the best person to talk to you about this. And get out of that situation. Okay? Get out of that situation. Do not feel bad about that. Do not feel guilty about that. All right? Number four, offer support. Okay? Offer support. I am so sorry you feel the way you are feeling and what you're going through. All right. And you can do that by following through, by redirecting them to someone who can help them. Okay. Or, I remember when I was going through something hard like that. And this is what helped me. This is what worked for me. I remember when I was going through a time like that, and this is how I got through this journey. Hey, refer them to Coach T. Refer them to Coach T if they're a wife. All right. But get it off of you. Okay. Get it off of you. Number five, change the subject or move out of the way. Change the subject or move out of the way. All right. Hands down. All right. You have to make a decision. Like, either you're going to engage in this, and that can go all different kind of ways, or you're like, I'm sorry. I'm probably not. Maybe, whatever it is that you got to do. All right. But do not allow people to project. Do not allow people to project themselves on you. Sometimes when you are with family members who are closest to you, or that are comfortable with you, or, people that's comfortable with you or close to you, it's a normal. They don't have no idea what you may be dealing with. Or they have no idea what you may be going through. I have learned for recently how to use my do not disturb button on my phone. Okay, I have learned how to do not disturb, because you have to be intentional about your well-being. You have to be intentional about your stuff. If you're in a position where you can help, where you can say something, where you can advise, that type of thing, okay. But taking on too much of someone else's stuff, that can be a problem. All right. Why is this important? For your own sanity and well-being. For your own sanity and well-being. All right. Sometimes you may just want to be. Now, sometimes people just want to be nosy, and they will engage. Like, oh, well, let me just, see what they got going on. Let me see in my life. It gives me a moment to not think about my stuff. So let me engage in this. All right. But if you like your sanity, and if you like your peace, and you're the kind of person where you don't like all different types of things happening to you or whatever. I know introverted people, again, here I go. They struggle with stuff like that. You have to take a moment to go and recharge and, get back into a good place before you can take on more of that stuff. So I would say, use your own judgment. I know this may sound very, harsh, but it is important. It is important, wife, that you protect your peace. It's important that you take care of yourself. This is part of self-caring. This is a form of self-caring. Not only is it a form of self-caring, but it's also a form of breaking some of those unhealthy habits that may have been in your bloodline were for a long time. Like, well, this is just normal. This is just what my family and us do. Just when I go home, and they be getting mad with me, but when I go home, I be like, all right, so I got a good 2 days in me. I've been already planning ahead of time. And after that, I have to go, I have learned to get, a hotel. I have learned to get my own space, because I can't handle all the, my family is like the loud music and the noise and they be want to go all in, honey. I'd be like, oh, Jesus. I remember one time, I think it was last year, my uncle, that's when my uncle, we went to my uncle's son's funeral. And, I'm trying to be there for the family, and I'm trying to engage. I'm trying to be, available and that type of thing or whatever. And babe, when I tell you, when I got in my car, I was like, I was all messed up. I had all different type of things happening to me. I was like, oh my God, this stuff is real. Like, this stuff is really, really real. And so you just have to be mindful of that stuff, wife. You have to be mindful of that stuff. All right. And so listen, I want to encourage you. If this is something that you struggle with, if you are, on a place on your journey where, like, I probably do need to address some of these unhealthy habits that I didn't even know was really a negative thing. I probably need to address some of these things. These types of things can hinder you. These types of things that you think, well, it's not really a big idea. It is a big idea. It really is a big idea. And so if you're struggling with that, I want to encourage you to sign up for your wife consultation. All right. I want to encourage you to get with someone who can help you with that, dealing with unhealthy stuff from your past, thinking that if I just leave it here, it's going to just go away. That is not good. It ain't going nowhere. You have to address that stuff, whether you want to talk about it or not. You need to come to a place on your journey where you say, you know what? I am ready. So many people are carrying, a heart injuries, carrying a heart injury. Their hearts are hurting from something from their past that they're not willing or had not been willing to deal with. And I just really want to encourage you that you have to deal with this stuff. You have to deal with this stuff. Your marriage is not going to save you from those things that happen. Okay, what it's going to do is show that, no, I really got a problem. Like, I'm really messed up, like, dang, I didn't really know I was dealing with this kind of stuff. That's what marriage does. It just put the spotlight on what you really are going through. And so this is how you self-care for yourself. This is how you prioritize yourself. This is how you make sure that you're taking care of your well-being. All right. And so I want to encourage you, if you have not already, sign up for your wife consultation. You can sign up at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. If you're struggling with, like I said, codependency, if you're struggling with, family traditions and family drama that, I got one wife, she asked, well, how do I, stop telling my mom certain things about my marriage after I've been telling her that type of stuff for so long? Like, that's something that you want to address. That's something that you have to deal with, and a lot of wives don't know how to do these types of things. And so I want to encourage you to get with someone to help you on this journey. Having a wife coach is not just about having somebody there just to have girl talk, but having a wife coach is also someone that'll help you and to hold you accountable. All right. And to hold you accountable. And so I want to encourage you, start with the consultation. Check on you, see about you, get you right. Before we cross over into this new year, check on yourself. All right. www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. All right. You guys have an awesome self-care Saturday. Do something that you enjoy doing. Make sure that you are prioritizing yourself. Make sure that you are taking care of yourselves. And listen, I will see you guys on the other side. Blessings.